Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately. All right, so I want this video to reach every black man who voted for Trump in 2024 or who didn't vote. That's who I want to talk to in this video. Now you see the lower third of the screen says, Black MAGA men, historic political screw up. That's what I want to talk to you about. All right, so I'm going to just methodically lay out to you why it was a historic screw up for voting eligible black men. Whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, whether you are independent, whether you are libertarian, so on. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why that was the worst political miscalculation or error that has been made in American history. All right? Now, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not trying to rebuke you like you don't have the ability to make your own choices. I just want to try to reason with you. I want to reason with you because I want to flip the house in 2026. And it'll be a lot easier to do that if African-American men who helped Trump win re-election were to not vote for him this time or to vote for his party. This will be a midterm, so he won't be running. And if the GOP follows the Constitution, he shouldn't be running ever again. She can cause a lot of damage between now and 2026 and by 2028. So I'm trying to reach you, brothers. And I have been working with you, brothers, for a long time, professionally, personally, as a minister, as a teacher. Anyone who knows my record knows it's been my calling to empower my brothers, African-American brothers. So I'm going to give you 5 things, 5 reasons why it was a historic miscalculation and why you need to make a different choice in 2026 and 2028. Okay, so let's go to another screen. Why was it a historic political screw-up for any voting eligible black man to vote for Trump or not vote in 2024? Now, I got there voting eligible because approximately 17 million African-American eligible voters did not vote. And by eligible, I mean they could have registered to vote and could have voted, but they didn't. But there was nothing hindering them from being able to register and vote. Approximately 17 million did not vote. Okay, now some folks can't vote for various reasons, but 17 million eligible voters, black voters, didn't vote. And a lot of those people were black men, eligible men. Brothers, we got to think through this very clearly, very methodically. And you should take serious what I tell you because I'm a civil rights lawyer. This is literally my space. I'm not just a YouTube content creator. I'm not just a talking head sitting here just saying stuff off the top of my head because I'm grifting, trying to, none of that. I'm not a Democrat shield. I'm not even a Democrat. So listen to me carefully. That's all I'm asking you. Listen to me carefully. A lot of you younger black men may look at me and say, I'm not in your age group. Well, that means I'm older I should have more wisdom because I've lived more life than you have. So it's just receiving some knowledge and wisdom from an elder in the community. Look at it that way. All right, what are the 5 reasons? Reason number 1, Trump and MAGA published a white supremacist agenda in Project 2025, and Black Trump voters ignored it. Now, this is really important. Last year, the Heritage Foundation released a 900-page manual called the Project 2025 Mandate. And in those 900 or so pages was an agenda that is extremely anti-Black. And all of the executive orders that Trump is releasing today, they come from Project 2025. And you can go back to some of the videos that I did about Project 2025. I warned African-American people because I read the manual and I saw what was coming. So I warn African-American people, do not vote for Trump because he's going to implement Project 2025 and it's not going to be good for us. And that's precisely what they did. So we literally, those of us who were in tone, now you may not know anything about Project 2025 because if you were getting your information from the wrong people who either hadn't read Project 2025 or they're MAGA supporters on the down low, there are many of those on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, then you wouldn't have known what Project 2025 was all about. Because coming in your feed every morning, again, are those what I call pro-Black imposters who are intentionally misleading the African-American community and downplayed Project 2025. You see? Because again, on the down low, they're helping MAGA. And it's not so down low anymore. Some of them have just come out and said, yeah, we are MAGA folks. And when you think of Black men who support Trump, you got the Byron Donalds, you got the Tim Scotts, you got the Ben Carsons. Those people are doing quite well economically supporting MAGA. They're selling out their community for a lot of money. They're doing very well in MAGA. All right, they get business opportunities and jobs and so on that other African-American men don't get. But at what cost? What's those saying? All money is not good money. And when you got to sell out your people and help a white supremacist organization or movement implement policies that will hurt you and your children eventually, that's not good money. And I know you brothers, that's what you be thinking. Well, let's try something different. You know, we've been trying you old guys' ways for some time now, you know, fighting, marching, protesting, and so on. Well, don't downplay that, gentlemen, because that's the reason why you have the freedoms you have now, because of my generation and before. We just need to add to it. We need more rights. That's what the fight is for full equal rights. We don't have that yet. And so we got to continue to fight. The fight is not over. The GOP is not going to get you there. Trump is fighting for white guys, not Black guys. So they published this 900-page mandate, and many Black guys did not read it or was not informed about it, unfortunately. All right, so that's the first reason. Second reason, a second Trump term will lock in anti-Black court rulings for decades through more far-right judges. This is really important. Really, really important. Obviously, one of the things that presidents get to do is nominate judges for the federal bench. And Trump nominated far-right judges who simply don't see the world the way we see the world. They tend to support pro-white causes and issues. So they tend to oppose the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act. They struck down affirmative action. They gave Trump what was necessary to get rid of DEI in court cases. They're not for us. And Trump put over 200 or so other judges on federal benches who also see the world the same way those justices on the Supreme Court. And that may, in your mind, not have an immediate impact on your life, but over time it will whittle away precious rights that we African Americans need very badly. And so that because he's in office now, he could even get the chance to pick Justice Sotomayor. It is reported that her health is not the best, so we don't know. We saw that with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who stayed in her seat until she died, and that gave the opportunity to put Amy Coney Barrett in her seat. All right? And again, those judges will be on the bench. You see, they're relatively young. Those three at the top, the three that Trump put in office, they will be there the next 30, 40 years, whittling away at our rights. So they could end up with 7 out of 9 seats on the United States Supreme Court. That would be horrible for us. So voting for Trump or not voting gave him the opportunity to stack the deck on this court. All right, so the third reason, and we already talked about a second Trump term will lock in anti-black rulings for decades through more far-right judges. So the third thing is MAGA will gut or hijack civil rights laws to dismantle racial justice protections. Why is that important? It's critically important because, again, when you go to work, you want to be treated fairly. You want to make the same amount of money that your white coworker's making. You want to be treated with respect and dignity. You want to get promotions. Not because you're black, but because you earn the promotions. You earn your pay. Well, Trump is whittling away with his anti-DEI measures, as well as the United States Supreme Court is taking actions to essentially undermine these civil rights protections. That doesn't benefit us, gentlemen. You may say, well, Mr. Corbett, all I'm really focused on is getting the bag. I'm just trying to get my finances and economics. And I don't care what Trump thinks of me and what they think about me, so long as he got the money flowing and I can get the bag. Wait a minute, back up. Well, suppose the money is flowing, and I'm not saying Trump is going to make the money flow. There are a whole lot of issues with a lot of things that he's doing right now. And Joe Biden gave him a good economy, believe it or not. But think about it. Even if the money is flowing, but because of your race and the anti-black policies that they're putting in place, you can't get to the money. How is that benefiting you? And that's exactly what they're doing. They're putting anti-black policies in place so that if the money is flowing in, African-American people can't get to it. It's the reason why white people have 6 to 10 times more wealth than we do and make a whole lot more money in income than we do. because of the systemic racism. And let me just say about systemic racism, that doesn't mean every white person is racist, but the systems of America are filled with racism, racist policies, racist procedures, racist practices, racist patterns, racist customs that you don't even see. But they be really, really holding African Americans back. Something as simple as, for example, redlining when it was occurring back in the 60s. And it still happens, by the way. And that is where banks and mortgage companies, et cetera, just simply don't lend money to African Americans in certain neighborhoods or African Americans generally. A bank called Navy Federal has been accused of not giving money or mortgages to African American people, or money to start businesses, or money to capitalize businesses. That is just one example of systemic racism. Systemic racism in the court system. And again, it doesn't mean every single white person is racist, but the systems that we all have to deal with are filled with racism. All right? So MAGA will gut or hijack the civil rights laws that are in place to help us fight against that systemic racism. Kamala Harris would not have done any of that. She would not have done anything to try to bolster systemic racism. She, as a Black Asian woman, she knows what racism is all about. She's dealt with it a lot, and a whole lot during that campaign. And yet many of you allowed her sex, her gender, in other words, and other disinformation cause you to vote for Trump or not vote, although he was intending to implement a 900-page mandate that would roll back the protections that I'm talking about here. All right, that's the third thing. The fourth thing, Trump and MAGA's economic agenda will worsen conditions for Black families. That is just a fact. They intend to cut back social net programs like Medicaid, maybe Social Security. And you say, well, I'm a younger man. What does all that have to do with me? Well, Medicaid, young people are on Medicaid. Young African American people with children especially are on Medicaid. Okay? Definitely. And when you talk about Social Security, there's a very high chance that your mother or your grandmother or other older people that you know are on Social Security. Don't you care about them? Don't you care about them? And you've heard a lot about tax cuts. Those tax cuts are going to benefit the top 1% of 1% primarily. So his economic agenda is not for Black or working people. They're anti-union. Do you work on a job that has a union? Well, this crowd is not for unions. Do you make minimum wage? Well, this crowd opposes increasing minimum wage. So, that is the fourth reason why it was not a good decision to vote for Trump. The fifth thing, Trump offered Black Americans no meaningful tangibles, only symbolism and false credit. False credit meaning he took credit for a lot of things he should not have. You remember he actually said that he was the best president for Black Americans since Lincoln. I strongly disagree with that. But in any event, the 2024 campaign, he offered Blacks no meaningful tangibles. Now, he did so in the 2016 presidential election, right? So first he offered the platinum plan, I think it was, but nothing came of it. Nothing. He won, African Americans helped him win by either voting for him or not voting at all. Nothing came of the Platinum Plan. All right, something did come from the so-called First Step Act. That was something that he signed into law. However, remember this, it was drafted under Obama and passed Congress on a bipartisan basis. Now, he turned around and he took credit for it. And no doubt it did help some folks. Okay? But then Trump turned right around and cut funding. All right? And many of his associates in the GOP had a huge issue with the First Step Act. His AG at the time, one of them, Bill Barr, was adamantly opposed to it. You see, those kind of details you need to know. And then there was something they called the opportunity zones. And what it was, it favored developers in areas and black areas that were being gentrified, would give tax incentives for young black entrepreneurs or just black entrepreneurs. But it turns out that the impact was minimum at best. It turns out that a lot of white developers ended up profiting and benefiting from the opportunity zones, okay? And then, of course, they brag about HBCU funding. HBCU funding. And what I'll say about that is, as an HBCU graduate twice, I am happy for any HBCU funding. But what the media doesn't say is that the Biden-Harris administration provided so much more HBCU funding, billions, whereas Trump, a couple of $100 million. And he actually tried to cut that from his budget. Those are the nuances that you don't hear, okay, that Trump tried to eliminate that HBCU money from his budget. You never hear that. And in this recent election, the 2024 election, he offered nothing to blacks. Again, nothing. So blacks who voted for him in 2024 did so despite him offering them nothing except a re-implementation of stop and frisk policies. He offered that. He said he was going to do that. So probably over the next 4 years, he's going to do that for sure. That's what he said. But the point is, for these 5 reasons, voting for Trump was a huge miscalculation. Okay, real quickly. What are they again? He offered no tangibles to black Americans. His economic agenda will worsen economic conditions for black families. He intends to and has already started cutting, hijacking civil rights laws through his anti-DEI policies to basically dismantle racial justice protections. Okay? And he will lock in anti-black rulings for decades through more far-right judges and justices appointments. And he's implementing Project 2025, which is extremely anti-black. So for those 5 reasons, brothers, it was not smart to vote for Trump or sit home. Again, I must classify it as a historic political miscalculation, or you can call it error. I wouldn't call it blunder or accident. No, it was intentional. I mean, when brothers are not reading Project 2025 and not reading other books to know and understand what exactly Trump and MAGA were intending to do, that's not an accident. That is deliberately not doing one's due diligence. And so that's why we got what we got, and we got it for the next 4 years. So I wanted to make this appeal to you, gentlemen, so that you can help us flip Congress in 2026 It is so important. So important to flip Congress in 2026. At least get one chamber, the House or the Senate. It'd be best to get both. And then we can definitely slow up all that Trump is doing. But between now and then, we're going to suffer. The African-American community is going to suffer because Trump is going to roll out these anti-black policies over the next about year and a half until it's time to vote again. And that's why I'm pleading with you. Reconsider your support for Trump. If you voted for him or didn't vote this last time, think this thing through. Think this through. Think it through. Think about your children. You cannot, gentlemen, depend on white supremacists to do anything to help you as an African-American man. Not only are they not going to do anything for you, they're actually going to work against you. Take it from me, a civil rights lawyer, which means I fight against their racial discrimination every day. I know how they do it. Okay? I am Reverend and Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett. And until the next time, remember, stay woke.